All right, so get ready to dive into, well, it's a fascinating corner of the internet, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
with us today.
Okay.
We're doing a deep dive into this Reddit thread,
Right.
and the title is Grandpa Tries a Gummy.
Okay.
And before you think this is just another,
Yeah.
funny grandpa video,
Right.
um, trust me, this one, it sparked like a whole conversation
Mm-hmm.
about cannabis. And there were some surprisingly insightful comments, I gotta say.
Well, that's what was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
You've got this, what seems like a really simple video on its face, and it becomes this springboard for a much larger discussion about cannabis and
Yeah.
what its role is in society.
Right, totally. And we're not even just talking about like grandpa's reaction here.
Yeah.
We're seeing everything from personal anecdotes about, people's experiences with cannabis
Mm.
to like straight up debates
Right.
about its medical,
Efficacy.
efficacy, yeah, and its legal status, and even like people arguing about the science behind it,
Oh, yeah.
how it affects the brain and
Yeah, and what was really remarkable to me was just the sheer range of experiences and perspectives that were shared in this thread,
Yeah.
I mean, you've got people who are like reminiscing about the reefer madness era,
Oh,
and then right alongside that, you have comments about dispensaries popping up near retirement communities.
yeah, right.
It's like it just throws into such sharp relief
Yeah.
how much perceptions of cannabis have really shifted,
Yeah.
even if not everyone's quite on board yet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It hasn't been like universally embraced.
Exactly. And that generational divide, that's just one layer of this whole conversation.
Right.
Then you have people chiming in with their own personal experiences using cannabis for all sorts of things, like
Yeah. Like what?
managing stress, connecting with loved ones.
Right. There's that one comment about like someone's dad and how THC makes him less reactive to the news,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
which is, I don't know, kind of funny. But also like maybe there's something to that.
Exactly. And then there was another one from a parent who uses cannabis to be more patient with their special needs child.
Oh, right, right.
It's like really makes you think about the potential there for improving relationships,
Yeah, absolutely.
creating a more harmonious environment.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not just anecdotal evidence either.
Right.
The thread even gets into like the actual science behind cannabis.
Oh, yeah. There's that great part where someone compares its effect on the brain to a Christmas tree.
A Christmas tree?
Yeah, because of the way all these different cannabinoids are interacting.
Wow. That's wild.
It's complex.
It is. And you can't really talk about cannabis without getting into the whole legal and political side of things, right?
Oh, absolutely not. And this thread goes there.
Big time.
Yeah.
There's that one comment from someone in Iowa.
Oh, right, right.
They're like, I'm surrounded by states where it's legal, but it's still illegal here.
Yeah, it's a great example of how this seemingly simple video about a grandpa trying a gummy actually touches on some real-life implications.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cannabis legalization or the lack thereof.
Exactly. It affects people all over the country in different ways, depending on where they live.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got all these different angles here.
They do.
Generational divides, personal experiences, the science, the legal landscape.
It's a lot.
It is. Where do we even start unpacking all of this?
Well, I think a good place to start is with the heart of the thread itself.
I-
Grandpa's reaction to the gummy
Right.
and what it might tell us about how societal views on cannabis are changing.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. So we see Grandpa in the video, and, like, he is having himself a time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just, like, pure contagious laughter.
It gets you going, too, yeah.
It really does. And a
Yeah.
lot of the comments are really just that. People just expressing so much joy
Yeah.
at seeing him so carefree, I think is really...
Yeah, it really is this heartwarming image.
It is.
And it sort of taps into this idea we have about cannabis.
Right.
Like it can bring joy and levity, especially as people get older. But what I thought was really interesting was how the thread uses this moment to go somewhere else.
To, like, spark a real conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
About
yeah.
how people see cannabis use now, especially among older generations.
Yeah, totally. You see people sharing their own stories
Yeah.
about, like,
Yeah.
their parents or their grandparents,
Yeah.
who were totally raised in that reefer madness era.
Oh, yeah, where it was like the devil's lettuce.
Totally shrouded in all this, like, misinformation.
Totally.
And now you see dispensaries opening up near retirement homes
I know, right?
and people talking to their aging parents about using cannabis.
It's wild how much things have changed, even just in our lifetime.
It really is. Talk about shifting landscapes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The thread also goes into, like, the idea of cannabis as this social lubricant
Oh, totally.
and a potential tool for stress relief, which
Yeah, there were a lot of comments about that.
there really were.
People sharing their own experiences with that.
Yeah, like that one commenter who was saying THC makes their dad, like, less reactive to the news.
Oh, yeah, less doom scrolling.
Yeah, exactly. Which, like, on the one hand, kind of funny, but on the other hand, like, maybe there's something to that, you know?
Maybe so.
And then there was that comment from the parent, remember,
Yeah.
who uses cannabis to be more patient with their special needs child,
Oh, right, yeah.
which is like, wow,
It makes you think
it really does.
about how it could be used. Yeah.
Totally. And, like, it's important to remember, right? This is all anecdotal.
Right.
It's just people sharing their experience.
It's not like a scientific study.
Yeah, exactly. And the thread doesn't try to pretend it is.
Yeah. No, there are people talking about negative experiences too.
Right, like the increased anxiety, paranoia, all that.
Exactly. It affects
Yeah.
everyone a little differently, which
Yeah.
is kind of where the thread gets into medical marijuana.
Right, because there's like this whole other side of it.
There is, and you see these comments about people using it to manage pain.
Totally.
Insomnia, there was even one about Alzheimer's symptoms.
Oh.
Yeah, and their dad. And it's a good example of the debate around medical cannabis,
It really is.
especially in aging populations.
For sure, because it's like some people, they see it as this totally viable option, right?
Yeah.
To manage all these different ailments.
Right.
But then you have other people who are like,
They get concerned.
yeah, they're worried about the risks.
Makes sense.
It does. And then there's the whole other can of worms, which is like
Let's open it.
the different strains, right? The whole indica versus sativa thing,
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other.
because that's where the science like really comes in.
It does, yeah. And it gets complicated because you have people who think it's really straightforward, right?
Oh yeah, indica, I'll be relaxed.
Yeah.
Sativa, I'm going to be energized. And it's like,
Right. And then you have like this one commenter who actually identifies as a neuroscientist.
oh, really?
Yeah. And they break it all down. They're like, that's not really how it works.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're basically saying that strain names aren't really a good indicator of their effects.
Because it's more complicated than that.
Way more. They're saying it's all about the interplay of all these different cannabinoids,
Not just THC.
not just THC.
Huh.
It's fascinating.
It is. So it's not as easy as like
Wow.
indica equals relaxed, sativa equals like,
It's a lot more nuanced.
it's way more nuanced.
It really is.
It's kind of like we're looking at cannabis through a kaleidoscope, right?
Yeah, it's a really good way to put it.
All these different facets.
Yeah, all swirling around this one video of this grandpa trying a gummy.
It's crazy. It's kind of amazing how this like one Reddit thread, right,
Yeah,
takes us on this like winding journey
totally.
through like the whole world of cannabis, you know? We're talking about personal anecdotes. And we're like getting into these complex, like,
Right, like really in the weeds, so to speak, on the science.
yeah, it's a lot.
And I think what's really striking is you have all this like humor and these heartwarming moments, right, with the grandpa and, like you said, the personal stories. But it all kind of reflects this society that's like really grappling with how cannabis fits in.
Still figuring it out.
Yeah, you have people who are like really celebrating it,
Totally.
all the potential benefits, and then you have others who are like,
Like,
wait a minute, what about that? And like, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
There's not like a one-size-fits-all answer here.
Exactly. I mean, what works for one person
Totally.
might not work for somewhere else. You know,
Yeah.
it's complicated.
It is. And then you layer on top of that, like
Right, because then you have,
the legal stuff, and it's just,
oh yeah, forget about it. It's different everywhere. Exactly. So where does this deep dive leave us?
well, I think
Because it seems like we're not really done with this conversation as a society, right?
no, not even close, I don't think. But I think what this thread, what it shows us is that we have to be open to these different viewpoints, you know? Like we really have to understand the science and we have to listen to people's personal experiences because it's only by like looking at the whole picture, right?
Totally.
That we can start to make sense of it all.
And figure out like how to move forward, right,
Exactly.
in a way that feels like, you know, right for everybody.
Yeah, that's the hope,
Yeah.
that we can have these nuanced conversations and actually listen to each other.
Totally. And like, who knows? Maybe like the next time you find yourself, you know, in a conversation about cannabis, whether it's, you know, online
Right.
or just like in person.
At a party or whatever.
Exactly. You'll have like a little bit of a different perspective,
Yeah, maybe.
you know, thanks to like this deep dive that we just did,
It's all about asking questions, right?
totally into Grandpa tries a gummy.
There you go.